Production by Liang Gu, the Chiang Kai-shek I Know, author, Feng Yuxiang. Chapter 1. The first time I heard the word Chiang Kai-shek, Chiang Kai-shek's betrayal of Prime Minister Sun Yat-sen did not start today. Some of my friends know for sure that Premier Sun was on the Yongfeng warship that year. A young man sent by Chen Jioming brought a big bomb to blow up Mr. Sun, but was caught by Mr. Sun's people. Later, a foreign friend of Mr. Sun said to Mr. Sun, "You are the president of China, a very big man, and you should be lenient." The father of the young man who planted the bomb was a good friend of the foreign friend, so he came to ask Mr. Sun to pardon his death penalty. Mr. Sun fully agreed and said, "What does a young child know? I will definitely release him." Mr. Zhongshan picked up his pen and wrote an order, asking the young man who planted the bomb to be released. When Mr. Zhongshan left the Yongfeng warship, Chiang Kai-shek said to the guards, "Don't let him go, quickly pull him out and shoot him." Later, a foreigner found out that the young man had been shot and said everywhere that Mr. Sun's words did not count. In fact, it was Chiang Kai-shek who disobeyed Mr. Sun, but how could that foreigner know the content? "Look at today," Mr. Sun originally said. "The people are the masters." Chiang Kai-shek treated the people as slaves. Mr. Sun advocated national independence, not relying on outsiders, and said that imperialism should be defeated. Today, is Chiang Kai-shek kneeling in front of imperialism and calling his ancestors? This is a fact. Some people said, the moon is hazy and windy, and the base is moist and rainy. That is to say, you will know what you are doing when you see the slightest thing. He also said, 3 feet of ice will never freeze in a day. Chiang Kai-shek's betrayal of Premier Sun's doctrine and his sycophancy to foreign countries did not start today. That is to say, you will know what you are doing when you see the slightest thing. He also said, 3 feet of ice will never freeze in a day. Chiang Kai-shek's betrayal of Premier Sun's doctrine and his sycophancy to foreign countries did not start today. This was the first time I heard of Chiang Kai-shek. It was in 1925. The second time I heard about Chiang Kai-shek was in the spring of 1926. I heard from some friends in the capital of Outer Mongolia that many people were arrested in Guangdong on March 20th, and it was Chiang Kai-shek who did it. At that time, Chiang Kai-shek was the principal of the Whampoa Military Academy and was fighting for personal rights. Some people were arrested. Another friend said that after the death of Mr. Sun Yat-sen, the Prime Minister of the Kuomintang, Chiang Kai-shek said to the teachers and students of Huangpu School, "Although the Prime Minister is dead, the Prime Minister's political advisor Mr. Borodin is here as if the Prime Minister is alive." All principals, teachers, and students in our school must obey Advisor Borodin sincerely, just like they obey the Prime Minister. And asked everyone to raise their hands and swear an oath, and to obey both internally and externally. Mr. Su explained this matter in detail. I don't need to go into too much detail, but there are not many days to live, and those who are kicked away are kicked away, those who are captured, and those who are detained are jailed. I heard in Moscow in May 1926 that Chiang Kai-shek had been to Moscow. Chiang's speech was very revolutionary. More left than anyone else. Soon the March 20th incident happened in Guangdong. Everyone in Moscow, the Soviet Union and the Chinese, were confused. What was going on? It would drive many people away and imprison others? I heard about it in September 1926. Chiang Kai-shek led his troops from Guangdong to Hunan, and soon arrived in Hubei. Some friends from Peiping came to Baotou Wuyuan to say that the Revolutionary Army and the National Army were united in overthrowing the warlords and cancelling the unequal treaties. It was at the time when news of my swearing in Wuyuan was cut off. Just rely on some comrades who are not afraid of death to get some news about Shanghai and the south. Wuyuan is to the west of Suiyuan. Chahar, Beijing, and Hebei province are all under Zhang Zuolin's army. Hubei, Hunan, and Shaanxi are all under Wu Peifu's army. Just rely on some comrades who are not afraid of death to get some news about Shanghai and the south. Wuyuan is to the west of Suiyuan. Chahar, Beijing, and Hebei province are all under Zhang Zuolin's army. Hubei, Hunan, and Shaanxi are all under Wu Peifu's army. At this time, from Wuyuan to Shanghai and the south bank of the Yangtze River, there was no telegraph or postal service, so everything had to be delivered by hand. The Chiang Kai-shek we all know is a man who follows the trend of others. He will move to the left or right, whatever suits him, and he will do whatever he wants. There are no rules. Arriving in Xi'an in 1927. Mr. Tang Xingji's representative said that Chiang Kai-shek was completely a warlord. If compared with Zhang Zuolin and Wu Peifu, Zhang and Wu were the old warlords. Mr. Tang Xingji's representative said that Chiang Kai-shek was completely a warlord. If compared with Zhang Zuolin and Wu Peifu, Zhang attacking each other, Zhang Zuolin and Wu Peifu were afraid that they would not be able to fight anymore. The friend was very elegant and said calmly that the old warlords were too corrupt and easy to fight. The new warlords would use their doctrines to deceive people, which would be difficult to fight. If you want to hit him now. We cannot fight again after the northern expedition is successful. What that friend meant was that Chiang Kai-shek should be attacked first this year. I told him that Xi'an was besieged for 8 months and 30,000 people starved to death before Wu Peifu's army Lu Zhenhua was driven out of Tongguan. The 2nd and 3rd National Army were very exhausted. Since the defeat at Nankou, the 1st National Army has marched thousands of miles and is in urgent need of additional personnel, horses, and equipment. Wu Peifu was in the arsenal of Gong County, Hunan Province, and Zhang Zuolin's army was in Xinyang County, Hunan Province. If our revolutionary army kills itself, the future will be unimaginable. The friend patiently talked about it in detail for 2 or 3 days. He told all about Chiang's dictatorship and tyranny. I told him, what you said is correct, but in the face of a formidable enemy, we must first fight the enemy in front of us, and we must not kill ourselves. The friend was disappointed and took a detour back to Hubei. Before he left, he gave me a letter. Chiang Kai-shek, the dictator, if you don't overthrow him now, he will overthrow you in the future. It was 1927 when we met in Zhengzhou. I saw Tan Yankai, Su Qian, Tang Xingji and many friends from the Kuomintang. Many of them fiercely opposed Chiang Kai-shek's dictatorship. I repeatedly said that Zhang Zuolin was in the north and Wu Peifu went to Sichuan. Under no circumstances should we start a fight among ourselves. Forget our enemies. At that time, some friends agreed with what I said, while others disagreed and said that I had already hooked up with Chiang Kai-shek. Those friends were originally going to stay in Zhengzhou for an extra day or 2, but that morning they suddenly hung up their cars and left. When I heard about it, I immediately went to the station, talked to them for a few words, and then drove off. I met Mr. Deng Yanda at the Gongxian Arsenal in Hunan. I asked Mr. Deng Yanda to give a speech to the workers in the arsenal. He scolded Chiang Kai-shek for betraying Mr. Sun Yat-sen. Chiang Kai-shek was the commander-in-chief of the First Army, and Mr. Deng was the political minister. Mr. Deng and I met for the first time. I had never met Chiang Kai-shek. They are all from Guangdong. I really don't know what the content is. After Deng Nyanda finished speaking, my friend Liu Bojian said to me, "What Deng Nyanda said is true. Some friends said that if the Revolutionary Army fought on its own, Zhang Zuolin, Wu Peifu, and Sun Chuanfang would all be happy." My friend Liu Bojian said to me, "What Deng Nyanda said is true. Some friends said that if the Revolutionary Army fought on its own, Zhang Zuolin, Wu Peifu, and Sun Chuanfang would all be happy." Chapter 2: The First Meeting with Chiang Kai-shek. After the meeting in Zhengzhou, Chiang Kai-shek led his troops from Nanjing to Suzhou and invited me to Suzhou to meet with everyone. I drove right away. There was still 20 miles away from Suzhou. There was a station called Huangkou. Chiang Kai-shek drove here from Suzhou and was waiting for me. We met on the platform. I looked at him wearing a yellow military uniform and a large-brimmed military cap. He was about 40 years old, more than 5 feet tall, with a very thin body and 2 sunken eyes. When he spoke, he would laugh first, then hum. We drove from Huangkou, and I sat in his first-class car. When I arrived in Suzhou, I stayed at the Garden Hotel. What everyone is talking about is continuing the northern expedition. Originally, Wuhan wanted me to help them fight against Chiang Kai-shek, and Chiang Kai-shek wanted me to help them fight against Wuhan. But I said, if we fight among ourselves, how can we be worthy of Mr. Sun Yat-sen, and how can we be worthy of the Chinese people? No matter what. I would rather offend you than fight yourselves. I beg you to join us in the northern expedition and defeat our enemies first. This is the most important thing. Here in Suzhou, there are Wu Zhihui, Hu Hanmin, Li Laijun, and many friends. There is a big banquet that night. Chiang Kai-shek came to talk to me. I first said a few words to compliment the officers and soldiers of the First Group Army of the National Revolution for their hard work in the northern expedition. Chiang Kai-shek came to talk to me. I first said a few words to compliment the officers and soldiers of the First Group Army of the National Revolution for their hard work in the northern expedition. Then I said, "Today the Southern Red Army and the Northern Red Army are gathering here. Where are we? The innocent people who protect the Republic of China are definitely not like Zhang and Wu. They just give a red hat to whoever they kill." After I finished speaking, Wu Zhihui stood up and said, "Purple energy is coming from the east here today." After the meeting ended, Chiang Kai-shek showed me a draft of the telegram he had prepared. That is to continue the electrification of the joint northern expedition. Chiang Kai-shek and I both signed. Jiang drove back to Nanjing and I drove back to Kaifeng. Not long after, the army led by Chiang Kai-shek fought with Sun Chuanfang in Suzhou and was defeated by Sun Chuanfang. That is to continue the electrification of the joint northern expedition. Chiang Kai-shek and I both signed. Jiang drove back to Nanjing and I drove back to Kaifeng. Not long after, the army led by Chiang Kai-shek fought with Sun Chuanfang in Suzhou and was defeated by Sun Chuanfang. Chiang retreated southward and passed Bengbu. Seeing that they had retreated to the Yangtze River, Chiang Kai-shek shot Wang Tianpei, commander of the 10th Army. This was Chiang Kai-shek's anger. Wang Tianpei was a soldier from Guizhou. When Jiang became angry, he shot Wang Tianpei. No charges were announced, and there was no military trial. At that time, the commander of the First Army was He Ying-chin, the commander of the 7th Army was Li Zongren, and Chiang Kai-shek's chief of staff was Bai Chongxi. When these generals saw that Chiang was killing people at will without using the law, and of course everyone was in danger, they did not obey Chiang's orders. When Jiang saw that he could not mobilize his troops, he resigned. Wu Zhihui and others convened a meeting of more than 24 comrades. What Wu Zhihui said at that time was that the northern expedition was underway and Chiang Kai-shek could not resign. Wu Gang sat down, and He Ying-chin stood up and said, "Chiang is leaving on his own. It's good that he's gone. From now on, we can also love our country." Then Bai Chongxi stood up and said, "Revolution is everyone's business. It's good that Chiang is gone. We all unite to do revolutionary work. We can still do it without him." The atmosphere in the venue was very tense. Li Shizeng stretched out his hand from behind and gave Wu Zhihui a hand. Put his mouth into Wu Zhihui's ear and say, "Isn't this a mutiny? Don't you want your old life?" Put his mouth into Wu Zhihui's ear and say, "Isn't this a mutiny? Don't you want your old life?" They would end up unhappy like this. Chiang Kai-shek saw that he had no choice but to go abroad to Japan. Chapter 3. I invite Chiang Kai-shek to come back. After Chiang left the country, Li, Bai, the three men of he defeated Sun Quanfang's army crossing the river near Longtan Mountain in the east of Nanjing. When Sun Quanfang attacked both sides of the Yangtze River, many people in the Nanjing Central Party headquarters walked away. Thanks to General Li Lijun presiding over Nanjing, there was no major disaster. Li's 7th Army and his 1st Army crossed the Yangtze River with Sun Quanfang's team. Shortly after landing, the two sides attacked and killed many of Sun Quanfang's troops. Sun Quanfang's army scurried back to Shuzhou in embarrassment. I am stationed in Zhengzhou. Zhang Zuolin fought from Hebei to the south, and Zhang Zongchang fought from Kazufu in Shandong to Lanfeng in Hunan. I think the situation in the north is like this, so the revolution should expand unity. I drafted a telegram and called Yan Shishan, saying, "Would like to invite Chiang Kai-shek to come back to China. Not only do you want him to be the commander-in-chief of the 1st Army, but the commander-in-chief of my 2nd Army is also willing to be under his command. Do you like it?" Yan Fu telegraphed, "Your telegram is really selfless. I am willing to sign it." The telegram was sent out like this, asking Chiang to come back. Chiang Kai-shek really dared to do something vicious. As soon as he returned to Shanghai, he assumed the post of commander-in-chief, and his first order was to transfer He Ying-chin to chief of staff. This did not allow He Ying-chin to have the real power to lead troops. He Ying-chin also entered the hospital and was discharged after 3 or 4 months. Officers and soldiers who don't have enough to eat and don't have warm clothes. Chiang Kai-shek had an income in Nanjing by relying on Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Shanghai. He led the army, and the officers and soldiers were all paid by foreigners. I came from Suiyuan, Ningxia, Gansu, and Shaanxi. Everyone knows that the northwest provinces of China are the poorest places, with little production and not much tax revenue. None of the officers and soldiers had any money. I sent a telegram to Chiang Kai-shek asking for pay. Logically speaking, he should be responsible. Unexpectedly, Chiang responded to my telegram and said, "The officers and soldiers of the 2nd Army are well-behaved, well-trained, know how to love the country and love the people, and their pay does not matter for a year and a half. It doesn't matter." The army he led was in a mess, and mutinies often occurred even if the pay was not regulated. It would be even worse if the pay was not regulated, so he gave all the money to his officers and soldiers. The troops I led, Chiang Kai-shek didn't send a penny. I showed the telegram to my generals, and they all shook their heads and sighed, saying, What words are these? The second time I met Chiang Kai-shek in Zhengzhou. In August 1927, my army defeated Zhang Zongchang in eastern Hunan, captured 20,000 to 30,000 Zhang Zongchang's officers and soldiers, and obtained 7 trains of armored vehicles. Not long after, Chiang Kai-shek came to Zhengzhou from Nanjing to see me. First, I asked Ma Fui and Lu Tianling to come and tell me, Chiang wants to exchange posts with me and become brothers. I said, very good. So Chiang Kai-shek wrote the post in his own hand, and I also wrote a post. I formed an alliance with him in order to truly implement the Three People's Principles. It is clearly written in the words. He could see that without the implementation of the Three People's Principles, there would be no use in forming an alliance. The two of us met and bowed to each other 4 times. So some people say that we are brothers, that's why. Jiang asked me, and we became friends who talked about everything. Hope I have some advice. Because I was a few years older than Jiang, Jiang spoke to me like this. I said to him, the people are our masters. We will do things that the people like. We must not do things that the people don't like. Jiang still said politely, brother. Is there anything else? I said, if we can implement what I just said, we can implement Dr. Sun Yat-sen's Three People's Principles. If you ask me again, I will tell you that we must share the joys and sorrows with the soldiers. If the soldiers do not eat, we do not want to eat. If the soldiers do not wear them, we do not want to wear them. If you can put these words into practice, our revolution will definitely succeed. Jiang said, okay, we will definitely do this. I met Chiang Kai-shek in Dangjiazwang, Shandong. During the northern expedition of the Revolutionary Army, Chiang Kai-shek commanded the army on Jinpu Road, and I commanded the army on Pinghan Road. And commanded the army between Jinpu Road and Pinghan Road. In the Chaozhou Jining area, Sun Liangqing fought several fierce battles against Sun Chuanfang and captured Jinan. Sun Chuanfang and Zhang Zongchang both retreated to the north of Dezhou. Chiang Kai-shek and Huang Yong arrived in Jinan first. Jiang Yudian asked me to meet in Jinan. When I went from Kaifeng to Shuzhou via Lanfeng, I heard that Chiang Kai-shek was in conflict with Japan in Jinan. At that time, Tanaka was the Prime Minister of Japan. Jiang Yudian asked me to meet in Jinan. When I went from Kaifeng to Shuzhou via Lanfeng, I heard that Chiang Kai-shek was in conflict with Japan in Jinan. At that time, Tanaka was the Prime Minister of Japan. The Japanese were very anxious when they saw that their lackeys, Sun Chuanfang and Zhang Zongchang, were retreating north. At this time, as soon as the army led by Chiang Kai-shek captured Jinan, the high-ranking officials went out to the big restaurant, and the junior officials went out to the small restaurant. The soldiers had no choice but to stare at each other in the street, hungry. In this way, those who curse in the streets and those who harass the people, and there is no mention of military discipline at all. The Japanese were looking for trouble. Sure enough, the Japanese military police clashed with Chiang's army. First, the small fight turned into a big fight. Not only did Chiang Kai-shek's army disarm in Jinan city, but everything owned by Chiang Kai-shek and Huang Qi was also lost. Jiang and Huang ran out in white underwear and almost became prisoners. After finding Tian Station, Jiang asked someone to send me a telegram saying, "Don't come." My reply said, "The more dangerous it is, the more I have to go." When we arrived at Dangjiazwang Station, I saw Jiang and Huang standing in a daze wearing white underwear. Chiang's troops withdrew from Jinan empty-handed, and their guns and artillery were all taken away by the Japanese. That day we were meeting in a Muslim chapel, and Jiang asked me what to do. In this case, I say, the Japanese thought that the victory of our Revolutionary Army was not good for their Japanese imperialism, and that Japan wanted to challenge us. There is no other way now but to use revolutionary forces to capture the Japanese here first. As for saying something big, I think revolution is a big deal, and I don't care about anything else. After repeated discussions, we decided to leave Jinan alone. Our troops would fight to Peiping first, defeat the warlords, and then deal with Japan. I said, I agree with you if you have that kind of endurance. Chiang was threatened by the Japanese. He said that he had to return to Nanjing and put all the troops under my command. I said fine. After Chiang Kai-shek returned to Nanjing, I commanded all the troops, about 800,000 men, to attack Tianjin and then to Peiping. Chapter 4 I met Chiang Kai-shek in Zhengzhou. The northern expedition will be successful. Chiang Kai-shek passed through Zhengzhou and went to Shijiazhuang to see Yan Xishan. Chiang Kai-shek passed through Zhengzhou and went to Shijiazhuang to see Yan Xishan. Because we had a long conversation in Zhengzhou, the meal I prepared here for Jiang and the hundreds of people who followed him was steamed buns, pork stewed with cabbage and millet porridge. It was a meal, a vegetable and a soup. Very cautious in the car. I don't know who he listened to, he must be worried about my place. When Jiang arrived in Shijiazhuang, Yan prepared a banquet of agarwood for him, and everyone with him had a shark's fin banquet for 8 people. Ma Yunting came back and said to me, what did Jiang say to someone? Take food as an example. Yan really respected Jiang and the people with Jiang. Jiang felt that the meal I prepared was too ordinary and he looked down upon him too much. When I heard this, I smiled and said to Ma Yunting, our revolution is for the masses of the people. To improve the lives of the masses, we must raise the living standards of the masses, not to make the lives of high-ranking officials better. Jiang said that I looked down on him. I could not watch the officers, soldiers and people not having enough to eat, but use the people's blood and sweat to prepare such expensive agarwood and shark's fin feasts. I met Chiang Kai-shek again in Xishan, Peking. The Northern Expeditionary Army has arrived in Beiping and is offering sacrifices to Premier Sun Yat-sen's soul at Biyin Temple in the West Mountain of Beiping. On that day, the commander-in-chief of each group army, one commander-in-chief of each group army, Yan Xishan and Shang Zhen of the third group army, Li Zongren, Bai Chongxi, and members of the Kuomintang Central Committee. When paying homage to the spirit, first salute, open the coffin lid, and look at Premier Sun's remains. Chiang Kai-shek held the coffin and cried. Some people behind him were cursing and saying, this shows that he is a direct descendant. None of us are direct descendants. Make him cry. Sure enough, the more he cried, the harder he cried. There were so many people standing there waiting. I felt that this kind of crying was not right. I advised Jiang not to cry anymore, but the more he persuaded, the more he cried. The person behind said, tell him to cry, let's go. Jiang stopped crying immediately. After closing the coffin lid, they dispersed for a while. Meet Chiang Kai-shek in Tangshan, Peiping. The first successful meeting of the Northern Expedition was held in Tangshan, northwest of Peiping. The water here is hot, there are many trees, there is a small river, and there are many new-style ocean-going buildings. After closing the coffin lid, they dispersed for a while. Meet Chiang Kai-shek in Tangshan, Peiping. The first successful meeting of the Northern Expedition was held in Tangshan, northwest of Peiping. Some people say that these foreign-style houses were built by Chao Rulin, Wang Yitong and others from the Anfu clan with the kickbacks they received from loans from Sai Yuan University. The commander-in-chief and commander-in-chief of each group army held a meeting with several members of the Central Committee. Chiang Kai-shek spoke first, roughly speaking. Reduce the army and obey orders in a series of words. Reduce the army and obey orders in a series of words. As soon as Jiang finished speaking, General Li Jishan stood up and said, "If the world is for the common good, no one will object. If the world is for private interests, there will be some objections. Killing everyone else and keeping your own army is such an injustice. A fair approach. It's absolutely necessary. For example, the Revolutionary Army in the Northern Expedition has no pay, but instead sent many people to secretly recruit Sun Chuanfang, Wu Peifu, Zhang Zuolin, Zhang Zongchang and other counter-revolutionary armies. This is extremely inappropriate. It's absolutely necessary. For example, the Revolutionary Army in the Northern Expedition has no pay, but instead sent many people to secretly recruit Sun Chuanfang, Wu Peifu, Zhang Zuolin, Zhang Zongchang and other counter-revolutionary armies. This is extremely inappropriate. There were several people who spoke that day, all of whom criticized him for saying good things to his face. But deep down, it is wrong to use various methods to eliminate other armies. I saw that Zhang's face was green, red and white, and he looked very uneasy. After the meeting ended, I talked with Mr. Wu under the moon at night and learned that Chiang resigned and went to Japan last time. He had caused harm to his subordinates. Meet Chiang Kai-shek at the south entrance. The south entrance is an important gateway from Beiping to Zhangjiago. In 1926, Wu Peifu, Zhang Zongchang, Li Jinglin, and Zhang Zuolin gathered all their counter-revolutionary troops to attack Nankou for several months. The Kuomintang army lost many lives. Now that the warlords had been eliminated, the National Army held a memorial meeting at Nankou. All walks of life in Peiping, especially schools, sent many elegiac couplets and sent representatives. It was an unprecedented event in Nankou. Chairman Liu Zhonglin and Chiang Kai-shek delivered speeches. Chiang did not say a word about what would happen to the dead and wounded, as well as the parents, wives and children of the dead and wounded. After Jiang has finished speaking, Li Zongren will speak. After Li has finished speaking, I will speak. The main thing I mean is that the dead officers and soldiers should be praised clearly, and bronze statues, stone tablets, and revolutionary ancestral halls should be erected. What to do with the parents of the dead officers and soldiers? What about my wife and daughter? How many years should be given with special preferential treatment? It should be both preferential and expeditious. These words are very important. Since Chiang Kai-shek has taken responsibility, he should respect my words after listening to them. I saw it later. He didn't care, he simply turned a deaf ear to what I said. What can be said to prove it is that nothing can be done. Chiang believed that all the officers and soldiers who died in the revolution were dead in vain. I have argued with Jiang many times about this matter, but he always said that he couldn't do it because he didn't have the money. Is there no money? Everyone knows that if you have plenty of money, you just won't do this. Chapter 5, Meeting Chiang Kai-shek at the Nanjing Conference. After the success of the Northern Expedition, the Nanjing Conference was held. Chiang Kai-shek first used various methods to make himself the chairman of the national government, a person who had contributed to the revolution in the past. He kicked it away. Just like there are 50 or 60 members of a military committee, once the northern expedition is successful, only a few will be retained and the rest will be eliminated. No one is satisfied with this method of burning bridges across rivers. The first National Government Committee meeting was held, and the person who proposed the proposal was Tan Yen Kai. The original proposal was to increase the salary of national government members to 800 yuan per month. After reading the original article, I expressed my opinion. There is a drought in the 5 northwest provinces, and many people have no food to eat. If we don't find relief, many people will starve to death. I have reported this to everyone several times. Today we should first discuss disaster relief, then it can be regarded as a revolutionary government. Who would have thought that disaster relief should not be mentioned at all, but first propose to raise the salary of the members of the national government to 800 yuan? If we believe that the people are the masters of the Republic of China, today we should first discuss disaster relief, then it can be regarded as a revolutionary government. Who would have thought that disaster relief should not be mentioned at all, but first propose to raise the salary of the members of the national government to 800 yuan? If we believe that the people are the masters of the Republic of China, we civil servants it's a servant. Can we watch our master starve to death without caring about it, and raise our salary first? As soon as I finished speaking, Tan said, "Loyalty and trust come first. Unless you get more salary, people who do things can't be loyal." I said, "You said 800 is the most important word, and some people say 8,000 is the most important, and 80,000 is the most important." As long as he does not put the people first, he will not be loyal to the country no matter how much salary he pays. Then Dai Chuanxian stood up and said, "Some people say that we should follow the path of Mao Ci. We followed Premier's son in the revolution and went through many hardships. Today the revolution finally succeeded. We should enjoy it a little bit." I said, "If the revolution succeeds, it will not be very appropriate. For the revolution, tens of thousands of people of the Republic of China died, leaving widows and orphans everywhere. No one cares about them. How can we call it a success? If we say it is a success, we can only say that we were hooligans yesterday. What kind of director do you have today? When it comes to enjoyment, what kind of director do you have today? When it comes to enjoyment," Fan Wenzhengong said, "be worried about the worries of the world first, and be happy after the joys of the world. We revolutionary people should enjoy it first, and then we can enjoy it. It cannot be said that the people cannot survive. Let's enjoy it first." When I said this, I slapped the table and said, "I will oppose this case to the end." Chiang Kai-shek said, "In this case, let's put this case aside for now and talk about it another day." As a result, no one took care of the drought in the 5 northwest provinces. The salary of the members of the national government is still secretly paid at 800 yuan. Do you think it is hateful? When we held a staffing meeting in Nanjing, everyone was present, 60 or 70 of them. First, they saluted the Prime Minister's portrait. After that, Chiang Kai-shek led everyone to take an oath. What is the oath? That is to truly obey orders. Someone later said that if you obey the order, then the order is given, so why bother with the meeting? Jiang heard all these words, but he pretended not to hear them. It was Jiang who brought up the case at the meeting. This case is that no matter how many people there are in each army group, only 12 divisions will be retained, and the rest will be dismissed. At that time, a Mr. Li stood up and said, "As for military affairs, I am an outsider, but I know what I know, and I want to contribute some opinions. If a group retains 12 divisions, some group armies must recruit 6 or 7 more divisions to make up for it, and some group armies must cut off more than a dozen divisions. If this is the case, how can it be said to be fair? It's unfair, nothing will happen, please be careful, please pay attention. Then several others spoke. The meaning is similar to Mr. Lee's. Chiang wanted to eliminate dissidents. He had already made up his mind. No matter what he said, he must follow his proposal. What is the actual situation? Chiang sent people to recruit more than a dozen new divisions in the Peiping area and preserved the others. The meaning is similar to Mr. Lee's. Chiang wanted to eliminate dissidents. He had already made up his mind. No matter what he said, he must follow his proposal. What is the actual situation? Chiang sent people to recruit more than a dozen new divisions in the Peiping area and preserved the others. Everyone knows this, and it is a truly unfair thing. The chaos in China and the people's inability to live a peaceful life were caused by Chiang Kai-shek's selfish plans. A large-scale demolition of houses in Nanjing. Chiang Kai-shek asked the Nanjing municipal government to demolish private houses and widen the roads. The city government drew 2 lines on the map, and the buildings within the lines were demolished within 2 weeks. Those who did not want to demolish the buildings would be demolished on their behalf. The people of Nanjing gathered 10,000 to 20,000 people to petition the national government. Chiang Kai-shek and others refused to go out, so they pushed me out to speak to the petitioning representatives. I said, "It's best if you find someone else. If I go out to speak to the people, I am afraid that what I say will offend my friends." In the end, they still pushed me out. I said to the people, "The city government is going to demolish the houses. It would be good if they can build houses for you first and then ask you to move out. If the houses are not built, it will be good. It would be wrong to force you to move out. This is the Republic of China, not the official state of China. Since the people are masters, officials are servants. Servants should do things for their masters and please their masters. Now let me tell you a story." William I became the Emperor of Germany and won the war against France. William wanted to expand his garden. There happened to be a common man who had 3 houses, but he would not sell them. He wanted to buy another place to exchange them with the 3 houses, but the common man would not trade them. Emperor William saw that others had failed, so he went out on his own and said many good things to the landlord. The landlord said, "I should listen to the emperor's words, but my fathers will taught me not to sell these 3 houses. If I do, I will be an unfilial son. So, great emperor, you must not want your citizens to be unfilial sons, right?" William said, "You know I am the Emperor of Germany. If I can't even do this little thing, why should I be an emperor?" The homeowner said, "If you are willing to smash the sign of a country governed by law, you can ask a few of your soldiers to demolish my house, otherwise, you can't touch my house." William was so angry that he couldn't stand it. When he returned to the palace, Bismarck came to congratulate him and said, "His Majesty the Great Emperor has such law-abiding citizens, we should come to celebrate." Only then did William's anger subside. A country with an emperor would not dare to demolish people's houses. We are a democratic country. Without our consent, who would dare to demolish a house? After I finished speaking, the people applauded. Later I heard that Chiang Kai-shek was very unhappy with my speech this time. In Tangshan, Nanjing, Chiang Kai-shek invited me to take a bath. I saw that the place was very nicely decorated. There were 2 gendarmes outside the door. There were all kinds of flowers and plants in the yard, and there was a kitchen ready. You can have snacks when you come. You can also eat. There are several bathing pools inside. This is where Chiang Kai-shek bathed. Not only the public could not enter, but also small officials could not enter. Even high-ranking officials who had no relationship with Chiang could not enter. After we took a bath, Chiang Kai-shek said, as we often say, Ping, Guangdong, Shanghai, Han. With these 4 places in their hands, the whole of China is in their hands. Chiang said this to provoke me. I said to Jiang, to be the leader of the country, you need to have a belly that can hold the whole country. If you want to be the leader of the world, you need to have a belly that can hold the whole world people. As long as you always pay attention to winning the hearts and minds of the people and the army, and can implement it, no matter where they occupy, no matter where they take, they are your arms, your brothers, and they are all for you. As a businessman, why do you worry about these things? When Chiang Kai-shek heard what I said was wrong, he turned around and said, "It's nothing." At this time, within a few days, He Qingjun launched the expulsion of Bai Chongxi in Peiping, and soon Chiang Kai-shek detained General Li Jishan. Also those days, there was a fight between the opium and tobacco dealer surnamed Xiong, the Shanghai garrison commander, and General Zhang from Shanghai. The dispute between Chiang Kai-shek and Guingfen. That evening, I had dinner at Chiang Kai-shek's house. Just after dinner, while sitting in the living room, Guingfen came to see Jiang with many telegrams. Jiang asked, "Is there anything important?" Guingfen said, "There is nothing else important, it's just that Xiong Shihui's opium and tobacco sales in Shanghai are causing a lot of trouble." Jiang said, "Xiong Shihui will never sell opium and tobacco. This is just nonsense. This won't happen." Guingfen said, "Here's a telegram saying so." Jiang said, "I don't believe it even if there is a telegram. An ancient saying goes, belief or not is one thing, and public opinion is another matter." Chiang said, "What public opinion, public opinion, public opinion? I spent 3 million yuan to open 10 newspaper offices, and whatever I asked him to do, he would do whatever he said. What bullshit public opinion? I don't believe it at all." Guingfen said, "Since you don't believe it at all, there is no need to read the official business." Chiang Kai-shek was embarrassed because I was there, so he asked Mr. Gu to rest in another house and look again later. I stood up and said, "Don't delay your official business. I'm leaving." I thought on the way, is public opinion bullshit? Can Chiang really say such a thing? Chiang Kai-shek's new law to disband the army. I asked them at the military commission how much pay they would pay to the first group army and how much Sichuan capital would be given, how to deal with the official affairs of the province and county. A lieutenant general named he said the method was very simple. I asked you to tell me, and he said, 1. Prepare a train, 2. 200 copies of slogans on red and green paper, 3. Military band. If there is no band, local drummers may be used. 4. Gather some people. 5. Gather the troops who are about to be disbanded at the station and raise their guns. 6. First, the officer speaks, saying nothing more than to welcome the patriotic and revolutionary soldiers to their hometowns today. There is no need for fame or benefit. This is a great patriotic act. 7. Then the people's representatives also said the same thing. 8. Then they crowded the troops into the car with bare hands. 9. Everyone shouted slogans. Long live the veterans. 10. As soon as the whistle sounded, they started driving. The above 10 tips are a good way to retire from the army. Then they crowded the troops into the car with bare hands. 9. everyone shouted slogans. Long live the veterans. 10. As soon as the whistle sounded, they started driving. The above 10 tips are a good way to retire from the army. It doesn't cost much and no one wants to be a soldier. This is a good method used by Chiang Kai-shek. I felt very surprised after hearing this. A few days later, as expected, 300 to 400 people were disbanded from Bungbu, using the method Mr. He said. When the train arrived at Pukku, they beat up and robbed the station, and then reported that they had arrived through Shugwan. Less than half an o'clock, another report came into Nanjing, and all the banks were robbed by veterans. He also said that there was a fight with the military police and there were casualties on both sides. In less than 2 hours, the whole city was in chaos. In the end, they had no choice but to send military students out to fight veterans. Therefore, many soldiers and civilians died. I was the Minister of Military and Political Affairs at the time, but Chiang Kai-shek's First Army did not put them under the control of the military and political department. You see how unexpected this was. Do you have a different heart? I don't know. Many wounded soldiers came to the military and administrative department to complain. What they sued was the director of the hospital for wounded soldiers under the jurisdiction of the First Army. They sued the director for deducting a large amount of food and expenses from the wounded soldiers. I asked the Military Justice Department to find the dean and find out the truth. The hospital director must be punished. The dean said that he was too unjust. I asked him why he was wronged. The dean said, "Any dean has made more money than me. The other deans have not been sued, but only sued me. Because this hospital belongs to the First Army." So I told Jiang what the dean said. Jiang said, "You don't have to ask, I will check it myself." As a result, the dean did not punish him and it was over. One day I was sitting and talking with Chiang Kai-shek. Someone said that a Japanese named Bushi Shinji came to see Chiang Kai-shek. Jiang asked me, "Do you know this Japanese guy?" I said, "I know him. I saw him where I lived 2 days ago." This Japanese wrote a book saying that Feng Yuxiang had a traitorous treaty with the Soviet Union. 2 days ago, he said that the book was bought because someone gave him 20,000 yuan. He thought he was wrong, and now he wants to write a good book. I say to this Japanese, "It has nothing to do with me if you write well, and I won't be angry with you if you write badly. You must always ask about the peace of your conscience. In every incident, every hour, you must feel that your conscience is not reproached. I will never sue you for ruining my reputation. This Japanese guy comes to see you today, so be careful." Jiang said, "There are many Japanese who write books like this." In September 1928, I stayed at Sanpeilu, Nanjing. I didn't see any guests that day. Chiang Kai-shek and his wife brought a picnic and a very long ginseng tree to see me. My adjutant said to him, "No visitors." Jiang said, "Don't worry about it." He went upstairs, and Jiang said, "Let's go out for a picnic." I said I didn't know anyone outside Nanjing. The only place I know of is the Shaozhuang Normal School run by Mr. Tao Xingji, which is outside Heapingman. Chiang said, "Okay, let's go to that place." Later we visited Shaozhuang Normal University and introduced Tao Xingji to Chiang Kai-shek. In the 18th year of the Republic of China, I got to know Tao Xingji. Jiang objected and I also closed Tao Xingji's Shaozhuang Normal School. I really didn't expect Jiang to do this. The Third Congress was held in Nanjing, and all the Central Committee members of the Kuomintang were appointed by Chiang Kai-shek himself. I told Jiang that this method was not good. If everyone chooses randomly, they can't choose you. But Jiang didn't listen. As a result, all the cronies of Chiang Kai-shek were included, while others who were knowledgeable or had contributed to the revolution were not included. As a result, friends in the party gossiped a lot. Chiang's method made it impossible for many of his friends not to attack him. This is the biggest reason why the enlarged conference was established. Chapter 6, Chiang Kai-shek eliminates dissidents. Since Chiang Kai-shek decided Chiang's method made it impossible for many of his friends not to attack him. This is the biggest reason why the enlarged conference was established. He replaced Bai Chongxi in Peiping with He Qingjun, and lured General Li Jishan to detain him in Nanjing. He wants to be dictatorial in everything inside and outside the party, so there are even more people who oppose him. Mr. Hu Hanmin is a veteran member of the Kuomintang. He is also the one who has been involved in the revolution with Mr. Sun Yat-sen for the longest time, and has a much deeper history in the Kuomintang than Chiang Kai-shek. Hu was deeply dissatisfied with Chiang's dictatorship. Hu Zeng kept telling Jiang that everyone should respect everyone's wishes when doing things. When Jiang heard what Hu said, he felt resentful. One day we discussed democracy and dictatorship again. Jiang immediately turned his back and imprisoned Hu. Of course Hu refused to accept it, so Chiang's agents tied up Hu's hands and legs with ropes. Hu still refused to accept it and started to curse. Everyone knows that Chiang Kai-shek always talks. Hu was Chiang's teacher and senior. Suddenly Chiang Kai-shek tied up Hu. Of course everyone had to ask Chiang to release Hu. After a few days, Hu came out, but his arms and legs were bound with blood marks. Hu Hanmin is a member of the national government and a standing committee member of the Kuomintang. He was also the legislative yuan. Hu had not committed any crime or rebelled against the party. However, Hu was beaten up just because he advised Chiang Kai-shek not to be dictatorial. How strange this was. At that time, the Second Army, the Third Army, and the Fourth Army had no pay for half the year. Some were not paid for 8 months, and there were many telegrams from Chiang asking for payment, but Chiang did not reply. Not only did Chiang's First Army not owe a month's pay, but Chiang also sent people with cash to buy off Zhang, Wu, Sun, and other troops near Peiping. Chiang Kai-shek's approach. All armies know it. When the officers of the Third and Fourth Group Army met each other, they would always ask each other, "Have you closed the pay?" They all said, "No." If they were officers of the First Group Army, they would simply answer, "I don't owe any wages." Therefore, the officers and soldiers of the army were very resentful towards Chiang because of his unequal treatment. At this time, the soldiers and civilians across the country were beginning to be dissatisfied with Chiang Kai-shek's dictatorship. Many revolutionary comrades and military leaders gathered in Peiping, held an enlarged meeting, and decided on the order, the Second Army. The Third Army and the Fourth Army came to attack Chiang Kai-shek. Although Chiang Kai-shek sent many minions to bribe civil and military officials everywhere. The Fourth Army fought out from Guangxi and moved down Changsha to Yuezhou. The Third Army crossed from Shaanxi to Hebei and hit Shandong. The Second Army fought out from Shaanxi and crossed the Yellow River to the north of Anhui. It really beat Chiang Kai-shek to pieces, and it looked like Chiang Kai-shek was about to fail. But why was Chiang Kai-shek not defeated? The Second Army fought out from Shaanxi and crossed the Yellow River to the north of Anhui. It really beat Chiang Kai-shek to pieces, and it looked like Chiang Kai-shek was about to fail. But why was Chiang Kai-shek not defeated? Because in each army group, some were bribed by Chiang Kai-shek's traitors to obstruct them, some officers and soldiers had no food because of the drought, and as for Chiang Kai-shek, from the time he established his capital in Nanjing, he had imperialists behind him to help him at any time, so he was rich and powerful. Arms. Chiang Kai-shek ordered the troops in northeast China to fight against the Soviet Union. It was after the enlarged meeting that Chiang Kai-shek ran to Peking with great pride to meet with Zhang Xueliang and a man named Wang. He said happily, "The Soviet Union is nothing. Anyone who is willing to fight can fight the Soviet Union." Therefore, Zhang Xueliang ordered his 2 brigade troops to attack the Soviet Union. The unexpected result was that the brigade commander was killed and could not fight. Chiang Kai-shek ignored it and asked Zhang Xueliang to settle the matter himself. Everyone knows about this, and they act rashly because they are too happy. It makes the Soviet Union look down on us, and people all over the world look down on the Chinese. This kind of action is not a child's play. What is the state affairs? Chapter 7 Chiang Kai-shek in the September 18th incident. Before the September 18th incident, because Chiang Kai-shek encouraged bad armies and did not tolerate good armies, there was no political or military training at that time. They were all led by Chiang to eat, whore, gamble and smoke. There was no training in the army, and military discipline and morals were extremely corrupted. The Japanese understand all these actual situations. Originally, when Zhang Zuolin was alive, he promised many benefits to the Japanese. Because Zhang Zuolin beat Guo Songling and his wife to death, Zhang Zuolin's demands on the Japanese would be delayed. Of course, Japanese imperialism is not happy. In 1928, Zhang Zuolin failed and retreated from Peiping to the 3 eastern provinces. He was killed by a landmine planted by Japan under the bridge in Huanggatun. The rights the Japanese want have not yet been obtained. When they saw Zhang Xueliang running to Peiping, the Japanese thought it was time to launch the campaign because the Japanese saw Chiang Kai-shek after the success of the northern expedition. He cut off his arms and legs with a knife, knowing clearly that even if the Japanese occupied the northeast, there would be nothing Chiang Kai-shek could do. Sure enough, on September 18th, they first occupied the Peking University camp in Liaoning, and then the capital of Liaoning province. Zhang Xueliang's chief of staff called Zhang Xueliang from Liaoning and asked Zhang what to do. Zhang was watching a play in the theater and had just finished taking a morphine injection. Zhang replied to his chief of staff, "Wherever the Japanese want to occupy, let the Japanese occupy it. We are non-resistance doctrine." Why do you say this? Because Zhang had asked Chiang Kai-shek for instructions. Chiang said to Zhang Xueliang, "No matter where the Japanese occupy, it will be occupied by the Japanese. We are non-resistance." Chiang said, "I said this, but you are not allowed to say it to others." The national public opinion at that time. Because of Zhang Xueliang's non-resistance doctrine, everyone attacked Zhang Xueliang, but Zhang Xueliang could not speak out about his suffering. The Japanese occupied the capital of Liaoning province and then burned and killed many young students like crazy. Many young students had their hands chopped off by the Japanese. Some legs were cut off by them. In just those 2 weeks, the Japanese killed 1 or 2 million of our compatriots, just like cutting melons and vegetables. Someone reported this tragic situation to Chiang Kai-shek, but Chiang always ignored it. The patriotic soldiers in the northeast saw that Zhang Xueliang was not resisting, so they themselves fought against Japanese imperialism. There were also many patriotic young people such as Miao Kashio who mobilized the insurrectionary army and fought to the death against the Japanese, lift people. When he was in his 80s, he led his family and more than 3,000 people, including his sons and daughters, to fight several fierce battles with the Japanese. He gave up all his property and land and retreated to Chahar, Rihi. Such a miserable situation is hard-hearted. When people know this, there is no one who does not shed tears. At that time, patriots in Shanghai and across the country rose up to blame the government, and donated a lot of money to General Zhu Ziqiao to organize the Northeast Volunteer Army and Support Association. Chapter 8 is the September 18th meeting in Nanjing, after the September 18th incident. Seeing that all three northeastern provinces are about to be lost, there was no one at home or abroad who did not say, "What do you do as the national government?" Jiang had no choice but to ask Kong Xiangxi to send me a telegram. "It is serious at home. Please advise me on what to do." I replied. The culprit of September 18th was Chiang Kai-shek. Chiang had to admit his guilt to everyone and step down, and then we could discuss it. Otherwise, I would not talk to Chiang. 2 days later, I received a telegram from Chiang Kai-shek. "I have done everything wrong. Please come to Nanjing and quickly discuss plans to save the country. I am completely ready to go to the field. I will definitely go to the field." My old friend Lu Yuncheng came to see me from Shannon at that time. "I am completely ready to go to the field. I will definitely go to the field." My old friend Lu Yuncheng came to see me from Shannon at that time. Lu said, "If Jiang sincerely pleads guilty, sir, he should go to Nanjing to discuss plans to save the country. I am also willing to do such a dangerous thing." Mr. Lu and I arrived in Taiyuan and learned that Yan Shishan had flown back from Dalian. In a middle school in the north of Taiyuan, I talked with Yan Shishan and Yan's friends for a day. Yan Shishan said, "I am afraid that Chiang Kai-shek does not have true consciousness and he is willing to be the emperor. Unwilling to resist Japan." I told Yan Shishan, "This is a matter of national survival. If he doesn't resist, we must resist too." Chiang Kai-shek called and said, "Everything is his fault, please go. As for the danger, I don't care." Unwilling to resist Japan. I told Yan Shishan, "This is a matter of national survival. If he doesn't resist, we must resist too." Commander Huang Shiyue got on the bus and came to see me. This Commander Huang held my hands and said, "Old General, please come out and save the country. Our country is in danger." As he spoke, he cried. Seeing that he was in his 30s, I knew he was from the Northeast Army. He asked me to get off the bus and see his team. I looked at his team at the station. There was about a battalion of people, all of them were very strong. He was the commander of the Northeast Army, Zhang Shuoyang. I asked him, "You are from the Northeast Army, why did you come to live in Niangziguan?" Commander Huang said with tears, "If not, how could the Japanese take over the 3 northeastern provinces?" I asked Huang again, "How did you get here?" Master Huang said, "Chiang Kai-shek transferred us here." After driving from Fengtai to Tianjin, many friends came to see me. I said to them, "The 3 eastern provinces are lost. We want to resist Japan. Anyone who disapproves of resisting Japan is a traitor." When my train arrived in Jinan Prefecture, Han Fujiu came to the station to welcome me. I said to him, "Only those who fight tooth and nail to resist Japan are heroes and patriotic men, and only those who fight to regain lost ground can be considered heroic and patriotic." Only by working hard to save the country's humiliation can we be worthy of our ancestors and martyrs. Han said, I must remember your teacher's words closely and I must follow your teacher's teachings. When the bus arrived at Pukku, many old friends from the party came to pick me up. On the ferry, I said, we must resist Japan. Chiang Kai-shek has confessed his crime, and he can be forgiven for his past crimes. We are fighting him for tyranny and dictatorship. If he were not tyrannical and dictatorial, there would never have been the September 18th incident. I stayed at Mr. Zhang Zhijiang's house in Nanjing. In my speech at the party headquarters of the Central Committee, I told everyone clearly, why are we fighting at the enlarged meeting? It is to overthrow the dictatorship. It has been clear for a long time that if there is a dictatorship in the Republic of China, it will definitely cause disaster. Now Chiang Kai-shek has a telegram saying that everything will be overthrown. It was his fault. He invited us all to come, and I came to face the national crisis together. And solemnly said, we want to resist Japan, we want to regain lost territory, and whoever wants to stop the resistance to Japan is a traitor. After the meeting ended, someone said, Chiang will not resist Japan. If you talk like this, your life may be in danger. My answer is, I'm not afraid when I come, and I won't come if I'm afraid. Whenever he talked to Chiang Kai-shek, he would hum, yes, yes, and he was with Wang Jingwei all day long. At this time, my friends in Shanghai invited me to come to Shanghai to speak out on the My answer is, I'm not afraid when I come, and I won't come if I'm afraid. Whenever he talked to Chiang Kai-shek, he would hum, yes, yes, and he was with Wang Jingwei all day long. At this time, my friends in Shanghai invited me to come to Shanghai to speak out on the anti-Japanese movement. The train I took arrived at Shanghai Station at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There was a sea of people at the station that day. As soon as the train stopped, Shanghai Mayor Zhang Kun got on the train and said to me, we cannot maintain order today because the workers and the masses in Shanghai want to look at you. There is no way to stop them from watching. I stood behind my husband. If someone threw a bomb, I couldn't run away. There is no way to stop them from watching. I stood behind my husband. If someone threw a bomb, I couldn't run away. I said to Zhang Kun, don't be kidding, no one will bomb me. I am a common people, and I am a servant of the common people. If the common people like it, I will say it. If the people don't like it, I won't say it. If the people like it, I will do it. If the people don't like it, I won't do it. If you understand this, you know that the people will not bomb me. At that time, there were many people setting off firecrackers, setting off cannons, shouting slogans, and holding flags at the station. It was very lively and we didn't leave the station until after 1 o'clock. Lived in Mr. Hu Hanmin's house in Shanghai. For several days, there were 3 or 4 speeches every day, some for students, some for the public or associations. The main meaning is that we must resist Japan. Who is against resisting Japan? Who is a traitor? We went to Nanjing to hold several plenums of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China. Who is a traitor? We went to Nanjing to hold several plenums of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China. The things everyone discussed were all about the war of resistance. Chiang Kai-shek and his cronies sang the theory of national subjugation in 3 days of resistance to Japan. Jiang said, guns are inferior to people, cannons are inferior to people, education and training are inferior to people, machines are inferior to people, and factories are inferior to people. What should we use to fight Japan? If we resist Japan, we will be destroyed in 3 days at most. Because Chiang said this, He Ying-chin and Wang Jingwei said even more powerfully. He Ying-chin said, "How many chimneys do Japan have and how many factories do the Japanese have? How can we compare? What should we use to fight Japan? If we resist Japan, we will be destroyed in 3 days at most." Because Chiang said this, He Ying-chin and Wang Jingwei said even more powerfully. He Ying-chin said, "How many chimneys do Japan have and how many factories do the Japanese have? How can we compare? How many days can we last without resistance?" Except for Chiang, He, and Wang themselves, who did not advocate resistance, their close people also agreed with them. Therefore, the venue was divided into 2 major factions. One faction was the 3-day subjugation theory, and the other was the anti-Japanese faction. Who would hinder it? Whoever resists Japan will be a slave to the subjugation of the country. There was a lot of fuss. Of course, the Japanese are aware of this situation. Those in power advocated non-resistance to Japan, which made Japan even more arrogant. Those in the capitulation faction clearly informed the Japanese of the situation at the meeting. Chapter 9, January 28, Shanghai Battle. After the Japanese learned about Chiang Kai-shek's 3 days of national subjugation theory, they aggressively invaded North China and Shanghai. The Chinese garrison in Shanghai was the 19th Route Army, commanded by Generals Chen Mingshu and Kai Ting-kai. Because it had a kind of revolutionary training, it was unwilling to be bullied by the Japanese. The Japanese used various intimidation methods to deal with General Kai and others but failed, so the Japanese immediately marched in and used force to force them. The Japanese really didn't expect that as soon as the Japanese fired, the patriotic men of the 19th Route Army immediately fired back. In fact, they not only fired back, and they pushed back the Japanese troops. Not only did they push back, but they also chased the Japanese soldiers. This war taught the Japanese a great lesson, telling them that the Chinese have heroes who are not afraid of death. And they pushed back the Japanese troops. Not only did they push back, but they also chased the Japanese soldiers. This war taught the Japanese a great lesson, telling them that the Chinese have heroes who are not afraid of death. People from all over the world who were in Shanghai at that time saw it with their own eyes. All expressed admiration. The Chinese compatriots even sent food, carried the injured, expressed condolences, gave gifts, and braved the hail of bullets to help in the war. No one was afraid. At this time, when the Nanjing Conference received the news, Chiang did not say a word. Mr. Chen Yuan said, "Resisting Japan is a matter of saving the nation. I have heard that some governments dare not resist the enemy if the soldiers do not sacrifice their lives. I have not heard that the soldiers are willing to fight the enemy, but the government dare not fight. With such an army that is not afraid of death, and such a generous and kind-hearted people, the government does not want to regain the lost ground. If this opportunity is lost, the morale of the military and the people will be lost, and any attempt to resist Japan in the future will not succeed." Yu Yuan said, "During the northern expedition, Mr. Chiang was very bold. If this opportunity is lost, the morale of the military and the people will be lost, and any attempt to resist Japan in the future will not succeed." Yu Yuan said, "During the northern expedition, Mr. Chiang was very bold." Mr. Feng swore an oath at Wu Yuan and made a declaration. It was like throwing 2 bombs on the necks of Zhang Zuolin and Wu Peifu. Why is it that today, when the national crisis is so serious, we still can't make up our minds? I stood up and said, since the day of September 18th, I have said that we must resist Japan and recover the lost territory. Anyone who obstructs the resistance to Japan is a traitor. Anyone who obstructs the resistance to Japan is a traitor. I think everyone has heard what I said, and I will say it again today. Chen Mingshu, Kai Tingkai, and other generals of the 19th Route Army are desperately killing the enemy there. Why are they doing this? They are trying to save the country and the people. If we don't decide to send a large number of troops to assist them quickly, it will be harmful to the country and the people, and it will cost the lives of the officers and soldiers of the 19th Route Army. That kind of greedy for life and fear of death approach is wrong. Chiang Kai-shek never said a word. Someone in the venue said. The Navy warships bought a lot of vegetables, chickens, ducks, and fish to give to the Japanese on the orders of he and Chen. Someone saw it with their own eyes and asked what was going on. The Navy warships bought a lot of vegetables, chickens, ducks, and fish to give to the Japanese on the orders of he and Chen. Someone saw it with their own eyes and asked what was going on. A friend shouted, "The Japanese are killing our 19th Route Army, and we will not send troops to help." On the contrary, if we buy rice, meat, and vegetables to send to the Japanese, we are still human beings. Do we still have any humanity? Chin Yuran said, "If you don't send troops quickly, you can look at your face, which is red and white. You must feel sad too." Then several people said, "This matter is too important. Let's talk about it at the talk meeting tonight." The meeting ended like this. At the afternoon meeting, someone said, "The capital must be moved." Where should we move to? Some people said Xi'an, others said Chongqing, but in the end we decided to move to Luoyang. First, transport the necessary things to Luoyang in several trains. Wang Jingwei and He Yingqin both lived in a foreign-style building on a hill in Puzhen, and Chiang Kai-shek sometimes lived there. General Li Jishan and I lived on the train in Pyuku. There is no talk here about sending troops to assist the 19th Route Army. Those who know the content will know that it means, there will be thunder but no rain. That is to say, they said they would send troops, but in fact they did not. The 19th Route Army fought very well in the past 2 days and killed many Japanese. Since Japan increased its reinforcements yesterday, we have suffered a small loss. I remember that at 10 o'clock in the morning, Chiang Kai-shek, Wang Jingwei, and He Yingqin convened about 20 people for a meeting on the hill. He Yingqin said to Foreign Minister Luo Wenxian, "The situation in the country is not good. You diplomats should use diplomatic means. If we don't engage in diplomacy now, when will we engage in diplomacy?" Luo Wen blushed and said, "What do you know? Weak countries have no diplomacy." A few days ago, the 19th Route Army won the battle, and the British and French embassies kept calling me and asking me to talk. They always treat me to drinks and meals, and they think highly of us. Well, if you don't send troops to help, if the battle is defeated at the front, I will go to the embassy and sit there for half an hour, and no one will come out to see me. Mr. Luo became more and more angry as he talked, and said, "A country can raise its troops for 1,000 days, but it can only be used for a short period of time, and then the water will come and the earth will cover it." The soldiers came to stop him. "The situation has become so serious and you don't send troops to fight. You ask me to engage in diplomacy, but others refuse to see me. How can I engage in diplomacy?" After hearing these words, Jiang Tonghe could only lower his head and was scolded by Foreign Minister Luo Wen without saying a word. General Li Jishan and I went to see the railway factory in Puzhen. There was a foreman there who was from Tianjin. He said that when he joined the factory, he only earned 10 yuan a month. For 25 years, he worked as a foreman, earning 100 yuan a month. It turns out that this factory is managed by the British. If you want to get paid by one person to do one thing, you must be capable. No matter inside or outside the factory, there is no one who does nothing for money. Since the Chiang Kai-shek came to power and the British left, the factory director was someone related to Chiang Kai-shek, so many counselors, consultants. Consultants and trainers cost 300 or 400 yuan each. They are either British or American students. When they come to the factory, they either read novels or chat, and they don't know how to do anything. Consultants and trainers cost 300 or 400 yuan each. They are either British or American students. When they come to the factory, they either read novels or chat, and they don't know how to do anything. Do you two know why the country employs people like this? The foreman added, "We have been working for 25 years. Do you two know why the country employs people like this?" The foreman added, "We have been working for 25 years. There is not a single thing we can't do here. I only get 100 yuan. Look, you two, these trainers sent here are all young men. You can earn 300 to 400 yuan a month without knowing how to do anything. Okay." Such bad politics provoked the Japanese to attack us. This is all retribution. I said to Mr. Ren Chao, "Chiang Kai-shek must hear what this foreman said. Maybe he has some awakening." General Li said. He didn't realize anything he heard. That night, I was sitting in a house on the station getting a haircut. Suddenly a young man came in and was on the phone. He took his earphone and said loudly, "I am the second young master. Please prepare 2 tables of agarwood in the mansion." At 8 o'clock I had a treat at the mansion. Don't miss it. A car was sent to pick me up at the river bank. After that, I hung up my headphones and went out. I asked people at the station who was this. A person who knew him said, "This is Chen Tiaoyuan's second young master, a British student studying abroad. Working as a consultant in this factory, you can earn 300 yuan a month and do nothing. He will say that he is the second young master, and he will treat guests every day." The person at the station asked me, "The Japanese army is attacking us in Shanghai now. Is it because the government employs people too badly? Why is the Beiyang government so bad that even the Japanese do not dare to fight?" He lowered his voice and said, "If we employ people in such a bad way, no country will look down on us." Before I could answer him, he added, "Such a young master, such a treat, such a banquet of agarwood. Are they all things a revolutionary government should have? Isn't their money all the hard-earned money of us people?" I said, "What you said is very good, and the scolding is quite right." Chapter 10, Moving the Capital to Luoyang. Starting from January 28. The 19th Route Army in Shanghai fought fiercely with the Japanese imperialist troops. Chiang Kai-shek's method was to undermine the 19th Route Army's resistance war while preparing to flee. He decided to move the capital to Luoyang, and his supporters put forward a large number of theories that Luoyang was the ancient capital of China. He also talked about how to build Luoyang and used these methods to divert people's goals. Luoyang is located in the west of Hunan province. During the Zhou dynasty, Luoyang was the capital. Later, the Han and Tang dynasties also used Luoyang as the capital. Because Luoyang has the Yellow River and Mang Mountain to the north, Yik to the south, and Ishui and Mangshan to the east and west. Luoshui, with Haishiguan in the east and Zhangmajia in the west, was a very dangerous and defendable capital in ancient times. Since the advancement of firearms, they are not what they used to be. After the invention of the Kwang aircraft, its tactical value was greatly reduced. This time, several trains were used to transport the goods from Pukku to Luoyang. It seems to be the same thing, but there are too few houses in Luoyang. There are only many Shigong barracks, which can accommodate some people. Those newly rich people who called themselves revolution were dejected when they came to Luoyang. There were no foreign-style buildings, no floors, no new toilets, and no big meals to eat. So many people expressed dissatisfaction. The meeting was held in the West Palace. Wang Jingwei proposed that Chiang Kai-shek be the chairman of the military committee. This suggestion puzzled everyone. If Chiang Kai-shek didn't resist Japan, why did he ask him to be the chairman of the Generalissimo? In fact, Wang and Jiang colluded. At that time, Mr. Liu Shouzhong said, "Chiang wants to be the chairman of the committee. Only Chiang himself can kneel down in front of everyone and swear that from now on the people will be his master and he will be his servant, and he will declare that he will fight the Japanese with all his strength. Otherwise he cannot be the chairman of the military committee." A man named Wang asked, why didn't troops be sent to assist the 19th Route Army during the Shanghai War? Before he finished speaking, Liu Ji got up and made a lot of noise. Everyone knew that Liu Ji was Chiang Kai-shek's wing. The argument lasted for a long time without any result. Wang Jingwei found another way to campaign for Chiang Kai-shek. "I said, if Chiang Kai-shek really goes to resist Japan, I will nominate him as chairman of the committee, otherwise it will not succeed. After a few days of doing this, I finally made Chiang the chairman of the military committee." Wang Jingwei found another way to campaign for Chiang Kai-shek. "I said, if Chiang Kai-shek really goes to resist Japan, I will nominate him as chairman of the committee, otherwise it will not succeed. After a few days of doing this, I finally made Chiang the chairman of the military committee." When he spoke, Chiang still did not talk about the resistance against Japan. Everyone said that Wang Jiang must have another conspiracy. The 19th Route Army cannot fight against the enemy for a long time alone. It can only be supported by the people, but it cannot succeed without increasing the number of good troops. Although the 78th Division increased a little, they moved and fought in a measured manner. Not like General Kai and others. Everyone knows that the additional 77th and 78th Divisions are Chiang Kai-shek's direct armies. The Japanese army was adding new troops every day, but there was nothing they could do. As soon as the 19th Route Army retreated, Chiang Kai-shek sent someone to sign another treaty with Japan. Many people feel that this is an insult to the country and a loss of power. It is very sad to do this. When we were passing through Kaifeng, Liu Ji prepared a banquet and invited Chiang Kai-shek, Wang Jingwei, Li Jishan and myself, as well as a man named Liu, to have lunch at the provincial government. The dishes prepared include yellow river carp. Liu said there are 4 ways to eat carp: some are fried, pan-fried, cooked, and one is boiled. It is also said that in a restaurant in Kaifeng, when a customer wants to eat fish, the waiter brings in a live fish to show to the guest and asks if it is okay. If it is okay, the waiter throws it on the ground. I beat the fish to death and take it to the kitchen to cook, because I am afraid that the guests will think that the fish is dead and not fresh and alive. The man surnamed Liu talked a lot and asked me if I knew anything. I said, "I'm sorry, although I was a governor and chairman in Hunan, I haven't invited guests for many years. I haven't eaten fish either." Mr. Liu sneered and said, "Here we go again, sir." That Mr. Liu spoke with purpose. In 1928, after the success of the northern expedition, he lived in Langfang near Tianjin. Chief of Staff Shi Jinping visited his army, and Liu invited Shi to his home for dinner. Liu asked Shi Jinping, "How much money does our commander-in-chief Feng have?" Shi Jinping said, "Feng has no money. I have never heard that he has money." Liu said, "It's amazing, the commander-in-chief has even concealed this from you. He is so capable. He has tens of millions of dollars saved in the United States. Just last month, I saved $17 million to go to the United States." Shi asked Liu, "Who did you listen to?" Liu said, "I heard it from people in several banks in Nanjing and Shanghai." Later, when Shi Jinping came back and reported the incident to me, I said, "It's obvious that he holds many newspapers." Secretly, many people are sent everywhere to spread rumors, so that they can quarrel with each other and harm each other. Secretly, many people are sent everywhere to spread rumors, so that they can quarrel with each other and harm each other. Driving east from Kaifeng, I caught a train alone. I thought, if Chiang Kai-shek doesn't resist Japan, what am I going to do in Nanjing? I think Taishan is a very good place. When I arrived in Suzhou, I headed straight north to Mount Tai. Chapter 11. When I was in Mount Tai, I lived in Mount Tai. Keep observing around Mount Tai. Mount Tai is the most famous mountain in China. It is really generous and broad-minded. The water flowing down from the top of the mountain is divided into east and west streams. Dongxi has historical sites such as Queen Mother Pond and Xiaohongmen. Cici has Fanxian, Wanshou Bridge, Byzantian, and Black Dragon Pond. There are also some ancient monuments along the way. Some cypress trees grow well in Dongxi, but there are few large trees in Cici. There are many ancient trees in the big temple in Tian City. From the Dongyue Hall on the top of the mountain to the big temple in the city, all are Taoist abbots. There are also some temples on the mountainside that are headed by monks. Look at the scene. There used to be many temples around Mount Tai, but in recent years they have become dilapidated. Some temples still have their foundations, and some only have half of their walls. There used to be many temples around Mount Tai, but in recent years they have become dilapidated. Some temples still have their foundations, and some only have half of their walls. Less than a week after I arrived in Taishan, Wang Jingwei asked Song Ziwen to wire me tens of thousands of dollars, saying it was for my pocket money. I immediately asked the original bank to remit the money back. I received this salary for nothing and had trouble sleeping and eating. I thanked him. Later I learned what Chang and Wang meant. They did not want to resist Japan, but wanted to buy me with money. They used money to silence me and would not allow me to resist Japan. It didn't take long. I received a telegram from Gu Weijun, saying that the League of Nations investigation team, Sir Lytton, was coming to Mount Tai to visit me. I replied to Gu Weijun's telegram and said, "The events of September 18th are known to everyone, so why is there any need to investigate? This is an insult to China. I want to see him." Lytton arrived in Nanjing. He entertained him like a servant entertains his master, and at the same time ordered the civilians in the huts to demolish their houses. This shows how much he complimented the League of Nations investigation team. Li Dun came to Tian, hired more than 200 sedan chairs, and went to the top of Tian Mountain to have a picnic. After going down the mountain and arriving at the station, Li Dun told Gu Weijun that he had lost his cane. There was a portrait of his wife and gems on the cane, and he had to ask Gu Weijun to find it for him. After going down the mountain and arriving at the station, Li Dun told Gu Weijun that he had lost his cane. There was a portrait of his wife and gems on the cane, and he had to ask Gu Weijun to find it for him. Gu went to the county magistrate Zhou Baichuan, and Zhou went to find two bearers, both of whom were in their 60s or 70s. When I asked the bearers at that time, they all said they had not seen it. Therefore, Li Dun stopped driving. The county magistrate, Zhou Baichuan, became anxious and immediately detained the two bearers. After looking for their canes, he released them. Gu Weijun promised to get it back to Li Dun, and then he drove off. I heard that the heads of the two bearers were imprisoned, which was too unfair. I called the county magistrate Zhou Baichuan to find out more about this matter. I asked the county magistrate Zhou, before Li Dun and the others got into the sedan chair, did they make it clear that they would look after things for them? How much does it cost to lift a sedan chair? Look at the price of the thing. If you didn't explain it clearly, why did Lighton ask for a sedan bearer when he lost something? The person sitting in the sedan chair is a human being, and the person carrying the sedan chair is also a human being. To whom did Lytton give his cane? If nothing else, please release the bearers' heads immediately and don't hold them captive. As for finding something, you can help him look for it. County Magistrate Zhou released the two bearers' heads when he returned. 2 days later, I found it in a pile of dried cow dung on the top of Mount Tai. Later I heard that the Japanese hid in that place. No matter what. It must be said that most of China's civil and military officials are afraid of foreigners, and their fear makes no sense at all. As the saying goes, treat each other politely in ordinary times, and argue with each other when there are reasons. Foreigners are human beings, and Chinese people are also individuals. If you can talk, I can also talk. Don't think that what foreigners say is right. Many foreigners understand the truth. When they look at you, they will say yes, 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 and they will not think highly of you. Shandong was originally peaceful, but suddenly there was chaos. That's because Liu, Zhang Zongchang's old subordinate. Under the influence of Chiang Kai-shek in Nanjing, giving gifts and spending money, he wanted to be under the direct control of Chiang Kai-shek, but was unwilling to be under the command of Shandong provincial chairman Han. Liu's expression suited Chiang's wishes, and he told Liu that he could collect wages on the spot. As a result, there was a big conflict between Han and Liu, with artillery fire and bullets raining down. There were many casualties among soldiers and civilians. The people who were killed by artillery fire for no reason, the wives of widows and the sons of orphans, everyone looked sad. As for those soldiers, no one even heard about them after they were killed or wounded. Because of this incident, the whole place was destroyed, and so many people were killed and injured. Guns and bullets are for national defense, and they are all consumed by themselves. Only the Japanese like to have fun. It would be true to say that Chiang Kai-shek took the initiative in the origin of this incident. I thought Shandong was untenable, so I went to Chahar at this time. Chapter 12: The Era of the Chahar People's Anti-Japanese Allied Forces. After the September 18 incident, the Chinese nation began to be in danger of being engulfed by Japan. Chapter 12: The Era of the Chahar People's Anti-Japanese Allied Forces. After the September 18 incident, the Chinese nation began to be in danger of being engulfed by Japan. People all over China were worried and angry. The Northeast People's Volunteer Army fought with the Japanese army everywhere. Combat. But Chiang Kai-shek. The Nanjing government controlled by Wang Jingwei only wanted to compromise with Japan and would never resist. The Japanese warlords took advantage of this opportunity to invade the pass step by step. After the Shanghai anti-Japanese war was sabotaged by Chiang Kai-shek on January 28, not only did Japan not believe that the Chinese army dared to resist. Even some people in China feel that there is no one who dares to fight Japan. At this time, I saw the common conspiracy of Japan to invade Chahar, Jihol, and North China and the betrayal of the country by Chang, Wang, and He. I also saw the indignation of the Chinese people and most of the soldiers and officers to resist Japan. I am determined to organize the popular anti-Japanese alliance in Chahar and call on the military and civilians across the country to resist Japan. In 1932, after the Japanese occupied the 3 eastern provinces, they attacked Songjiyuan with a force like a mulberry leaf. They fought hard against Songjiyuan in the Zaifengkou area. The Japanese suffered heavy losses at the hands of generals Zhang Zizhong and Zhao Dingyu. Another Japanese army came to attack Rihe. Tang Yulan was the chairman of Rihe. As soon as he heard that the Japanese were coming, he loaded his gold, silver, treasures and smoke into dozens of trucks and ran to Peiping. The local government and the army ignored them. Japan still has a force to attack the eastern part of Chahar. At this time, Chiang Kai-shek did not add anything to the troops that could fight Japan, such as those of Lu Ruming, Feng Jian, etc. The troops that did not fight Japan retreated more than 100 miles a day, and Chiang Kai-shek did not ask them for their faults. At that time, the Japanese scolded the Chinese army and said, "Your legs are running so fast that the Japanese have no way to report victory." They hope that Chiang Kai-shek's troops will retreat a little slower. It can be seen how the Japanese despised Chiang Kai-shek's soldiers. The Homei Agreement is the treaty signed by He Ing-chin and Yumizu of Japan. He Ing-chin represented Chiang Kai-shek. Everyone knows that first Liaoning was lost without asking, then all 3 northeastern provinces were lost without asking, then Rihe was lost, Jidong was lost, and 4 counties in Chahar were lost. Still not sending troops to assist, still non-resistance. None of Chiang Kai-shek's direct troops came, and the Homei Agreement was concluded, which was humiliating the country. The hearts and minds of the country and public opinion all over the country were condemning the incompetent government. I live in Chahar. Many people's representatives from all over the country came to see me, and there were also many representatives from the army. They all hoped that the leadership would regain the lost territory. Many people's representatives from all over the country came to see me, and there were also many representatives from the army. They all hoped that the leadership would regain the lost territory. I calculated that if I raised the anti-Japanese flag, I would have at least 200,000 troops, and they would be there just because there was no money for food. Suddenly Li Xian came to see me. He said he was from Peiping. Originally, Li had been with me for decades and had also served as a commander of the military police. He said to me sincerely, "The Japanese army occupied Duoluan, Guyuan, and Kongbao, which are very close to Zhangjiago. They said they would arrive as soon as possible. Sir, it is not the responsibility of guarding the land. Why live here? It's too dangerous. I would like to ask you for a meeting in Nanjing. You can go to Nanjing for the meeting. Otherwise, go to Shanghai or go back to Yudohi. As soon as you agree, a train will be prepared to take you away." Then he said, "It's very unsafe here." I said to Li Xian, "If you are unwilling to read, you do not know the truth. Do you think that since September 18th, I have said every day, recover lost ground and avenge our national humiliation? Today, the Japanese are close, so I used the meeting to sneak away. What a smart way this is. If you don't think about me, I just think about you." How can you see people when I leave like this? As the saying goes, a gentleman loves others with virtue, and a villain loves others with tolerance. Li Xian, think about it. Do you love me as a virtue? Or do you love me enough to tolerate it? Let me tell you the truth, I was determined to resist Japan. If I can mobilize 300,000 soldiers, I will fight against 300,000 soldiers. If I can mobilize 20,000 soldiers, I will fight against 20,000 soldiers. If I can't defeat one soldier, I will climb to the roof alone, hold 2 pistols, and kill one of them. I have enough skills as a Japanese soldier. If I kill 2, I will earn 1. Who asked you to come? You go back and say to him, my surname is Fong. I am willing to die in the hands of the Japanese, and I don't want to be a weak-minded slave who subjugates the country. At that time, Li Xian's face turned as red cloth. Mr. Wang Taizhan, an old Hanlon scholar, persuaded him and said, Mr. Fong and Li Xian are both right. Li Xian has been with. My surname is Fong. I am willing to die in the hands of the Japanese, and I don't want to be a weak-minded slave who subjugates the country. At that time, Li Xian's face turned as red cloth. Mr. Wang Taizhan, an old Hanlon scholar, persuaded him and said, Mr. Fong and Li Xian are both right. Li Xian has been with you for more than 20 years. He should say this to you, you are the creator of the Republic of China, and you are responsible for the rise and fall of China. You are right, so don't feel sad. That's how. He should say this to you, you are the creator of the Republic of China, and you are responsible for the rise and fall of China. You are right, so don't feel sad. That's how Li Xian left. General Zhu Ziqiao was in Peiping. He established a support association for the Northeast Anti-Japanese Army. Some money was raised from all over Shanghai, specifically to help the anti-Japanese army and people. General Zhu heard that I had organized everything here, but I didn't have enough money to eat and couldn't raise the flag. General Zhu remitted 100,000 cash and sent Yang Muchi to explain that it was for me to fight against Japan. On that day, Ji Hongchang came to see me. As soon as he met, he knelt on the ground and started crying. I took Ji's hand and told him to stand up and stop crying. He could say something. Ji Hongchang said, I really don't have the face to meet. On that day, Ji Hongchang came to see me. As soon as he met, he knelt on the ground and started crying. I took Ji's hand and told him to stand up and stop crying. He could say something. Ji Hongchang said, I really don't have the face to meet you, sir. You gave me hundreds of thousands of troops, but they were all bribed by Chiang Kai-shek. If all the troops you gave me are gone, how can I have the face to see you? At that time, Ji Hongchang cried more and more painfully. I said to Ji Hongchang, don't say this anymore. Since you came to join me as a soldier in 1913, there were only 1,500 people in total at that time. Later, it developed to 1 million soldiers. If all the troops you gave me are gone, how can I have the face to see you? At that time, Ji Hongchang cried more and more painfully. I said to Ji Hongchang, don't say this anymore. Since you came to join me as a soldier in 1913, there were only 1,500 people in total at that time. Later, it developed to 1 million soldiers. Isn't this all done by you? You've done it all, isn't that what you should be doing? What's wrong with that? Ji Hongchang said, I came to see you this time to serve the country with my death, and to serve my husband with my death. I am willing to die in the hands of the Japanese. I said to Ji Hongchang, this is enough. No need to say any more. I immediately appointed Ji Hongchang as the commander-in-chief of the former enemy. It was May 26, 1932. I received the call on the same day and took the post of commander-in-chief of the Chahar National Anti-Japanese Allied Army. Liaoning, the troops who retreated from the four provinces of Jilin, Heilongjiang, and Rihe. Together with the troops from Chahar and Shaanxi, there were more than 200,000 troops. We first organized an army of 100,000. The former enemy commander-in-chief was Fang Junwu, and the commander-in-chief was Ji Hongchang. The two of them took it and set off. I only trained for 3 days. I carried the gun myself and taught them to stand, kneel. The most important method of lying down and shooting is to explain clearly to the officers and soldiers, the people are our parents, brothers, and sisters. Anyone who bullies the people is bullying his own parents, brothers, and sisters. They brought those troops with them, including infantry, cavalry, and artillery. Leave Zhangjiago and head towards Guyuan. When they arrived in every village, the troops did not enter civilian houses. When the common people saw that the discipline of the army was very good and heard their voices, most of them were from the northeast, and some of them knew each other. They asked them, "You passed here half a month ago, beating and swearing at people. It's unreasonable. Now I'm passing through here. I abide by the rules and don't enter private houses. What's the reason?" The officers and soldiers said, "We are now the army led by Old Feng. Old Feng taught us, the common people are our parents, our brothers and sisters. We should protect the people and respect the people. If we can do this, we will definitely win the war." The people were very happy to hear this and felt very strange. Ji Hongchang led the army and captured Guyuan first, and then Kongbao and Baochang. In the end, it took a lot of effort to defeat Dwuluan. During the charge, more than 2,000 people were killed or injured, and 4 regiment leaders were seriously injured. As a result, the Japanese were driven out of Dwuluan and pursued for 50 or 60 miles. Because this battle shocked the whole country and the whole world. Dwuluan is very obvious on the world map. Because of this, Chiang Kai-shek gave a speech at Guling in Lushan Mountain and said, "If there are no Japanese in Dwuluan, where will the war be? If there is no war, how can there be casualties?" This is where Feng was surrounded by the Communist Party and started rumors. Wang Jingwei in Nanjing and He Yingqin in Peiping both made speeches saying, just after the success of the Homeitangu Agreement, the Communist Party of Chahar caused such a thing again. I brought the wounded soldiers back from Dolan. Taking the train from Zhangjiago to Peking Union Medical College Hospital, more than 1,000 wounded soldiers were transported to Tianjin to find a hospital. Chiang's officials did not come to help, but the people rose up to help. There were photos in various newspapers. The rumors created by Chiang, Wang, and he were all confirmed. They were deceiving people. At that time, Chiang Kai-shek's lackeys in Nanjing, Peiping, and Shanghai were all shouting, "Chahar has become red." Mr. Zhang Taiyan gave a speech in Suzhou and said, "As long as we can regain the lost ground and defeat the Japanese devils, we are willing to become red. We, the people, are willing to support Mr. Feng Yuxiang's radicalization." One day there were 300 to 400 people in Shanghai to welcome General Ma Zhanshan. The 94-year-old Mr. Ma Xianghua filled a glass of wine and stood up and said, "The first glass of wine is to congratulate General Feng Yuxiang on his recovery of the 4 counties of Chadong, and hope that he will regain more lost territory. The second glass of wine is to welcome General Ma Zhanshan." 3 gentlemanly, Bai, and Huang from Guangxi province responded to my call for anti-Japanese war and wired me 100,000 yuan as anti-Japanese military expenses. Everyone knows that the army in Guangxi is the most difficult. Their ability to be so generous and kind shows their true patriotism. Among dozens of provinces across the country, only one province, Guangxi, has performed well. Why? Because Chiang Kai-shek was under too much pressure. Although officials and people in various provinces are willing to help in their hearts, they dare not show it. At this time, what Chiang Kai-shek and He Ying-chin were doing was to suppress the people's anti-Japanese movement, especially to destroy our anti-Japanese army. They transferred several divisions including Guan Linjeng, Lu Xing and Lu Ken from the south to the north. Prepare to cooperate with the Japanese to attack me, and try to get Song Zhiyuan to return to Chahar to thwart my resistance to Japan. Chiang Kai-shek went to Feng Qinzai and asked Feng to fight me. Feng Qinzai said, Commander-in-Chief Feng Yuxiang is anti-Japanese, I can't fight him, and I am his old subordinate. I shouldn't hit him. Chiang Kai-shek approached Pang Bingshuan again and secretly appointed Pang Bingshuan as chairman of Chahar. Pang Bingshuan was very happy and wanted to lead his troops to fight. I shouldn't hit him. Chiang Kai-shek approached Pang Bingshuan again and secretly appointed Pang Bingshuan as chairman of Chahar. Pang Bingshuan was very happy and wanted to lead his troops to fight. Pang's brigade commander Chen Yarong led all the army officers to Pang and said, We want to fight Feng Bingshuan. Sir, we are not going. Mr. Feng is the leader of the anti-Japanese war. If you want to fight, go do it yourself. Pang Bingshuan slapped Brigadier Chen twice. Pang said, I didn't say slap Mr. Feng. As he spoke, he started crying and rolled on the ground. At that time, I proposed that if Song Zhiyuan came back to Chahar, would go back to Mount Tai. When Song Zhiyuan came back at the end of August, I went back to Mount Tai. Before returning to Taishan, I built a memorial tower in Zhangyuan New Village and carved the names of the fallen officers and soldiers of the anti-Japanese Allied forces on the stone. There was a 5-foot-long wooden tip on the tower, pointing crookedly toward the northeast. That means don't forget to recover the lost territory in the northeast. Chiang Kai-shek thought that anyone could help him kill people. In fact, this is not the case. People who are knowledgeable are willing to save people and are unwilling to kill them. I know a friend whose surname is Lu and whose English is very good. After returning from studying in Germany, Chiang brought him to the bandit suppression headquarters as a confidential secretary to help him kill Chinese compatriots. This Mr. Lu, everyone at home and abroad knows him as a progressive element, and this time he went to Chiang Kai-shek. Some friends who did not understand the content were very happy to ridicule Mr. Lu. Then suddenly he was wanted. That was when Mr. Lu stole the commander-in-chief's bandit suppression plan and handed it over to people on the people's side within a few days. The plans and maps stolen by Mr. Lu by Chiang Kai-shek's agents were found in the hands of a foreigner. Soon, it was discovered that Mr. Lu had stolen it, and Jiang issued an order to arrest Mr. Lu. 2 o'clock before the telegram arrived, Mr. Lu got the news. I ran away from Hankow first. He ran to Xi'an and caught up to Xi'an within 2 days. When he ran to Taiyuan, he caught up with him. When he ran to Peiping and Jinan, he was always chasing after him. Mr. Lu had a friend named Jiang in Jinan who was a doctor and lived in his house at first. Within a few days, the secret agents found out that Mr. Jiang had no choice but to come to Mount Tai to find me. He told me everything about Mr. Lu, and I said, very good. As long as he is willing to come, let him live in Taishan and teach me English. Mr. Liu has been in Taishan for less than a month. Mr. Jiang was arrested. I asked him where Mr. Liu had gone. At first, Mr. Jiang was okay, but he refused to tell him. Later, Mr. Jiang's mother, out of grief for her son, persuaded Mr. Jiang and said, "Just tell me. Why do you suffer? Woolen cloth?" Mr. Jiang told me everything about Mr. Liu's stay at my place in Taishan. 300 or 400 spies came immediately and surrounded Taishan. Fortunately, the county magistrate of Taishan is named Zhou Baichuan, and a regiment leader who lives in Tai'an County has followed me and said to the spy leaders, "You can't go up the mountain. You have to go up the mountain. Mr. Feng has a pistol team there and he will shoot you. If there really is a fight, my group will definitely help Mr. Feng's pistol team to fight you." In this way, these agents will block the roads around Mount Tai and prevent them from going up the mountain. County Magistrate Zhou told me all these things and knew that Mr. Liu's wife and children also encountered great danger in Wuxi and Zhenjiang. I thought for Mr. Liu that even though the spies didn't catch him, they should have found a way. It was a very good moon that night. I asked a man named Li and a man named Feng to lead Mr. Liu from the top of Mount Tai to a village 90 miles away from Tai'an City to stay at the home of my good friend Mr. Liang. Everyone thought this was great, but these spies could not be found. You know, it's only a week. Mr. Liang came to see me, but he couldn't tell. In the countryside, hundreds of families have lived together in a village for hundreds of years. It is easy to know who is coming from each family. When a family saw Mr. Liu and his wife coming, they told everyone that there were 2 barbarians in Mr. Liang's house. Go and see it. Every day there are too many people to come to the house to see the barbarian. In less than 2 weeks, everyone in Tai'an City will know about it. From this, we know that we cannot live in the countryside. I said, "What do you mean, Mr. Liu?" Mr. Liang said that Liu would like to go to Japan. I said, "Very good." He sent Li Lianhai to take Mr. Liu and his family away at night and stay during the day. They arrived in Wei County, where they boarded a bus to Yantai, and from Yantai to Japan. Whatever Mr. Liu does now, probably everyone knows that he is an upright revolutionary. I know that he will always stand with the people and the working people. He is not willing to get promoted and get rich, or to help butchers kill people. Isn't this a very admirable person? Chapter 13. After the Homei Agreement, at this time, Chiang Kai-shek said every day, "To resist foreign aggression, one must first pacify the domestic situation, and to resist Japan, one must first suppress the Communist Party. The enemy of the revolution is not Japan, but the Communist Party of China." The 4 northeastern provinces were lost. Chiang Kai-shek said that he was irresponsible. Wang Jingwei said at the Central Party headquarters in Nanjing, "If Zhuge Liang wants to send troops to the Central Plains, he must first pacify the southern barbarians." This also means that the anti-Japanese war must first suppress the Communist Party. He Yingqin abolished all names such as the National Salvation Army Volunteer Army in Hebei Province in Peiping, and those who did not comply with the order would be arrested. In Peiping, He Yingqin sent many spies to operate in schools and at all levels of society. This also means that the anti-Japanese war must first suppress the Communist Party. He Yingqin abolished all names such as the National Salvation Army Volunteer Army in Hebei Province in Peiping, and those who did not comply with the order would be arrested. In Peiping, He Yingqin sent many spies to operate in schools and at all levels of society. If you hear anyone talking about resisting Japan, put him on the blacklist. If you hear anyone talking about saving the country, arrest him. In this way, ordinary young people with conscience and blood are forced into desperation. The most insidious thing is that when arresting people, he does not say that someone is fighting against Japan or someone is saving the country. He gave him a red hat to wear, but he used the same methods that Zhang Zuolin and Wu Peifu used to kill young people. And the people he used were the same people Zhang Zuolin and Wu Peifu had used. The old ones still existed, and some new ones were added. If you report a report, you will get a certain amount of bonus. If you don't report it, there will be no bonus. Because of this, those people will report randomly. One after another, people disappeared every day near Peiping, and people were buried alive every day. There were several dry wells full of dead bodies. A few spies were in big trucks and arresting people everywhere on the street, making it so that most people didn't know what kind of dark world this was. Chiang Kai-shek's nephew, Jiang Shaoxian, was the commander of the 3rd Military Police Regiment. In Peiping and Tianjin, he arrested 30 or 50 people every day. When he heard someone say that someone was fighting against the Japanese in the northeast, he arrested him. When he heard someone said that someone was fighting against the Japanese in Chahar, he immediately arrested him. When he heard someone say that someone was fighting against the Japanese in the northeast, he arrested him. When he heard someone said that someone was fighting against the Japanese in Chahar, he immediately arrested him. People were buried alive by him and thrown into the Yongding River every day. At this time, in Haihali, Tianjin, first, 200 to 300 dead bodies were found, and then 2,000 to 3,000 dead bodies were found. They were all workers doing secret projects for the Japanese. After the project was completed, the Japanese were afraid that these workers would leak the secret, so they took these workers. 3 bundles of 6 were thrown into the Haihe River. This matter was published in various newspapers. Of course Chiang Kai-shek and He Ying-chin knew about it, but they pretended to be deaf and mute and did not say a word. At this time, an even more distressing thing was that people appointed by Chiang Kai-shek and he accused Mr. Zhu Ziqiao in Shanghai. He said that his finances were unclear and asked General Zhu to announce how the money he handled was used. What is the actual content? It was because General Zhu Ziqiao helped the anti-Japanese war. Because he helped resist Japan, he became Chiang Kai-shek's enemy. I'm in Chahar. Raising the flag of righteousness of the anti-Japanese Allied forces, everyone knew that Zhu Ziqiao gave me 100,000 cash, and Jiang He hated this matter extremely. What can they do? They can only point out people to accuse General Zhu Ziqiao. What is this if not darkness? During this period, the work done by Jiang and he was, first, to reuse people like Yin Rugang, because he was a traitor, and he wanted to compliment him and contact him. Second, to keep in close contact with ordinary people like Wang Yitang and Wang Qimin. The third is to secretly catch people who are resisting Japan and those who want to save the country everywhere. The fourth is to spread it everywhere. If they resist Japan, it will be the 3-day theory of national subjugation. This was the actual situation at that time. Chapter 14, The Era of the Fujian Anti-Japanese People's Government. I returned to Mount Tai and wrote a book. The name is Anti-National League Investigation Team, another one is called Records of Chahar's Anti-Japanese War, and another one is Jiaodong Travel Notes. In addition to work, I also invited several university professors to give lectures to me. Mr. Chen Baoyin lectured on philosophy, politics, and economics. Mr. Li De talks about Lenin's philosophy, astronomy, history, geography, psychology, biology, physics, chemistry, and Chinese literature. Some lectured for 3 months in a row, while others lectured for 2 months. There are 3 hours of lectures before noon and 2 hours of lectures in the afternoon. It was very interesting to study in Taishan for 2 or 3 years. It is true what the sages said, after learning, you will not know enough. There was a Taiyan man, Mr. Fan Mingshu, who was about 70 years old at the time. He was responsible in the Jinan library. Every day he wrote more than 2,000 words in his diary, scolding Chiang Kai-shek for not resisting Japan, calling him a traitor, etc. When the spies saw Mr. Fan's diary, they immediately arrested Mr. Fan and about 92 of his students and workers. They put Mr. Fan on wooden dogs, handcuffs, and shackles, insisting that these people were all communists. When I heard about it, I called Shandong Chairman Han Fujiu. People over 70 years old in Shandong province have joined the Communist Party. This is really a mouthful. Please release Mr. Fan quickly. Mr. Fan was in prison for a week. When he returned to Taiyan, I asked Mr. Fan to tell me the spring and autumn annals, and he told me it from beginning to end. It took me 4 or 5 months to write notes on reading the Chuanxiuzhuan. There were many new inventions and new theories in that book, all of which were related to new science. Although Mr. Fan is about 70 years old, his thinking is very progressive. And I like to help young people, so I asked Mr. Fan to help me establish 15 primary schools in Taishan, with about 2,000 students. Those children were all 12 or 13 years old in 1933. By the time of the July 7th anti-Japanese war, many were already 17 or 18 years old. Some people go to northern Shaanxi to study. Mr. Fan later organized a guerrilla group to fight against Japan and killed many Japanese. Many students and young people joined Mr. Fan's guerrilla group. The People's Government was established in Fujian on November 20, 1933. It was a clean government launched for the War of Resistance. Also because Chiang Kai-shek's agents assassinated Ji Hongchang at the Tianjin National Hotel and was injured but not dead, Chiang Kai-shek negotiated with the imperialists. Ji Hongchang was arrested from the Tianjin French Concession Hospital and taken to the Peking Military Police Headquarters for severe torture. On November 24 this year, Chiang Kai-shek ordered Ji Hongchang to be shot. Chiang Kai-shek asked Chen Yi to make an agreement with the Japanese against the anti-Japanese People's Government in Fujian. The traitorous agreement was published in Shanghai Daimai Evening News. On the one hand, the Chinese Navy was sent to block the seaport of China, and Chiang Kai-shek sent an Air Force brigade to brutally bomb Fuzhou. Many people died at that time. Generals Li Jishan, Chen Mingshu, and Kai Tingkai were all trying to regain lost territory. Chiang Kai-shek added, China has no preparations and no national defense. Not only is it too late for us to temporarily purchase weapons, but even if everyone has been working together in this area for 30 years, it is still not enough. By then, we want to rely on material power to defeat the enemy. Japan. That's still a dream. What's more, the Japanese will never allow us a chance to prepare for national defense. Even if Japan tries its best to let us prepare for national defense, how can our human and financial resources keep up? Are these words a sign of heliophobia? Everyone will understand at a glance. Chapter 15. Invite me to Nanjing for a meeting. In September 1935, Chiang Kai-shek sent a telegram inviting me to Nanjing for a meeting. His telegram was as follows: Commissioner Feng Huanzhang, member of Taiyan Detective Agency, my brother Junjian, secret. How is your body in recent years? I would like to express my praise to Kangji from afar. The 6th plenary session of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China is about to be held, and all important plans of the party and state need to be discussed. I really hope that the President will come to the capital as soon as possible to discuss everything. Please drive as fast as possible and pray for you. My younger brother Zhongzheng knocks how and serves me dong. My reply was as follows: urgent. Chairman Chiang Kai-shek of the Nanjing Military Commission, Jishi's younger brother Junjian, secret. Hao Dian is informed. Over the years, my brother has not had time to warm the table, and he has served the country virtuously, and I deeply admire him. When I returned from Shishu this time, I thought of the people in the mountains. I called to ask about them. I was very kind and grateful. At this point in the country's affairs, it is more miserable than India and more humiliating than Korea. If we don't urgently find a remedy, there will be great disasters in the future that we cannot bear to mention. I would like to sincerely advise you as follows. Regarding party affairs, 1. Open the ban on party affairs, and everyone who can work together to save the country, regardless of individuals or groups, should be tolerated in order to concentrate efforts and save the crisis. This article does not matter how to put it. If you are not sincere, you cannot move people. If you are not sincere, you cannot move people. 2. Open speech. In order for everyone to be able to shoulder the responsibility of saving the country, everyone must be given the opportunity to express their opinions, and then they can pool their thoughts and benefit from common interests to jointly plan national affairs. 3. To truly unite, on the negative side, if there have been differences of opinion between comrades in the past, we should try our best to eliminate, completely eliminate. On the positive side, invite Jiantong North to come. But Jingwei does not have to leave Beijing, and he meets Zhesheng, Yuren and other comrades sincerely, talks about everything, and decides on the big plan together. 4. Amnesty for political prisoners, inclusive of all, so that everyone can do their best long to serve the country. But Jingwei does not have to leave Beijing, and he meets Zhesheng, Yuren and other comrades sincerely, talks about everything, and decides on the big plan together. 4. Amnesty for political prisoners, inclusive of all, so that everyone can do their best long to serve the country. Regarding politicians, 1. You cannot save the country without winning the hearts and minds of the people. That is, whatever the people like, do it if they like it, otherwise, let it go. 2. Strictly enforce rewards and punishments. Each province has officials who truly serve the people, and rewards are generous. Corrupt elements are severely punished. Regardless of status or background, every reward and punishment must be fair. 3. Establish a disaster relief department. Floods, droughts and natural disasters are extremely serious. It cannot be handled without a dedicated department. 4. Reward people with anti-Japanese spirit, such as Shi Ying and Yu Shuozhong, who have anti-Japanese ambitions and especially anti-Japanese performance. One should be used in addition, and the other should be reused immediately. 5. Appoint anti-Japanese generals, such as Kai Tingkai, Jiang Guangnai, etc., who have made contributions to the anti-Japanese war in the past. Therefore, the government should not only provide more tolerance and amnesty, but also make people more important. All of the above are related to public sentiment. Regarding diplomats, 1. Determine international friends and foes. The Soviet Union and the United States have the greatest bearing on our country's resistance to Japan. 2. The government should quickly dispatch civil and military officials to shoulder the responsibilities and go to the Soviet Union and the United States for effective liaison. To seek concrete measures for cooperation. Regarding the military, 1. Immediately prepare to launch anti-Japanese military. If we do not resist Japan, we will perish. Otherwise, we must resist Japan. To seek concrete measures for cooperation. Regarding the military, 1. Immediately prepare to launch anti-Japanese military. If we do not resist Japan, we will perish. Otherwise, we must resist Japan. 2. Rapidly replenish land and air armaments. Fanxiang knows everything about the above points and elaborates them in detail. The nation concerned is so huge that he dares to ask for decisive implementation. Xi Xiang's actions only seek to benefit the country and the people, and there is no regret for any sacrifice. Little brother Yu Xiang. Chiang Kai-shek telegraphed on the 30th, Taiyan is about to submit to Commissar Feng Huanzhang my brother's venerable mirror, secret. My younger brother returned home to visit his grave, and returned to Beijing yesterday. On the day of the reading, he received a telegram, and he saw his teachings. They were very clear and deeply loved. In the Zhou dynasty, he was admired endlessly. The national crisis is at this point, and it is impossible to save the country from danger without concentrating all the strength of the country. Regardless of the reasons, it is the one who wins my heart first. The 6th plenary session of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China is coming soon. All colleagues in the Central Committee hope that my brother will come to Beijing to attend as scheduled. I am especially eager to grasp it so that I can personally learn the lessons and comfort my thoughts. We look forward to your arrival soon, and we pray for you at any time. My younger brother, Zhongzheng, came to Mijing. There were such exchanges of telegrams, which clearly stated that I came to Nanjing for the sake of the anti-Japanese war. If I had not resisted Japan, I would not have come to Nanjing. On November 1st, I took the train to Puku Station. When many old friends came to pick me up on the ferry, Mr. Qin Liming told me that during a meeting at the Central Party headquarters, a man surnamed Sun shot Wang Jingwei 3 times while taking pictures. The injuries were very serious. He has been admitted to the Central Hospital and the murderer has been arrested. Yun was beaten to death. I said that the Chinese people are full of passionate young people, and those who make traitorous remarks and ideas like Wang Jingwei's will not end up like this. After I got off the ship, I went to live in the house prepared by Chiang Kai-shek in the cemetery. Chiang Kai-shek came to see me. I told Chiang that if he did not resist Japan, the country would be destroyed. The weapons-only theory and the 3-day subjugation theory are both wrong. Chiang Kai-shek asked me to give my reasons. I said that those who believe Japan will be subjugated in 3 days only see Japan as terrible. They are suffering from Japanphobia. They only compare factories with guns, etc. Why not compare them with population? Why not compare it with land area? As for the theory of weapons, it is even more wrong. China has many years of history and has model civil and military figures such as Wen Tianxiang, Shi Kefa, Yu Fei, etc. Moreover, the world is not just the world of China and Japan, but also the Soviet Union, Britain, the United States, and France. All countries have conflicts with Japan to some extent, and that is not unknown to everyone. I hope you will think about the country left by your ancestors, plan for future generations, and win glory for Mr. Sun Yat-sen and the martyrs who died. Quickly correct those theories about weapons only and the theory of national subjugation in 3 days. Zhang's mouth was full of okay, hey, hey, hey. On the 5th of the same month, Tianjin students asked the 6th plenary session of the Kuomintang Central Committee to open up freedom of speech and assembly and prohibit the illegal killing of young people. The 10 schools of Tsinghua University are electrified as follows. Since the founding of the capital, newspapers have recorded that as many as 300,000 young people have been killed, and the number of those who have disappeared and been imprisoned is even more numerous. If they are not killed quickly, they are buried alive. If the ban is not enough, they are poisoned. Hell appears. What will happen to the world? During the September 18th incident, thousands of miles of land were lost in 3 days. Don't our people know who is responsible? Especially in the face of foreign troubles, we are unwilling to go against the government. However, the government takes advantage of this mentality to torture and persecute us under the pretext of unifying national policies. In the past, it could be used as an excuse, but now it can be used as a crime to obstruct diplomatic relations, while our people are making every move. They all have opportunities to commit crimes. Peking University students organized anti-imperialist symposiums, and Tsinghua students organized modern symposiums.